a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, is with me. What do you say? Well, first of all, I mean, Bolsonaro has to concede so there can be a proper transition. If he doesn't, bearing in mind that essentially the country is split, it could get very ugly.
It could. Frankly, I don't think he's going to concede. He won't challenge the elections either, so he's not going to mount, as we saw, for example, in the US, an entire campaign of fraudulent elections or anything like that. He doesn't have the space to do it. Authorities have already manifested themselves, speaking of the legitimacy of the elections, and his allies also don't want him to do this because many of them just got reelected. So he's not going to contest the elections, but he's not going to concede either, which is going to make the transition very difficult.
And Lula, what's he going to do first of all?
Well, his main priority, at least according to what he's been saying throughout the campaign, is to fight poverty, hunger, and malnutrition amongst children. All of which have risen sharply after the pandemic, but not just because of the pandemic, also because of ill-conducted economic policies by the government of Bolsonaro. So these things he could do, but we have yet to know what kind of fiscal deficit Brazil is actually departing from to see how much he can spend on social programs.
And then you've got the whole question of the investment scenario, the environment for external investments. Every time I go to Brazil, one's always incredibly impressed by the potential and then somewhat dispirited by the lack of reality.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I would imagine that, the first year of Lula's government is going to be extremely hard because there's a lot of rebuilding that he needs to do. And Brazil basically needs to recover some political stability, because for the last more than 4 years, so even before President Bolsonaro, Brazil was living through very turbulent times. So in order to actually have a climate that's conducive to investment coming back, and specifically long-term investment, the country really does need to go through a restructuring process. So the way it looks is the first year is going to be hard. If Lula manages some policy wins in the first year, then things start to get better. And perhaps, by the middle to the end of his second year in government, things may start to look up.
And in terms of the Congress that he has to work with, the nature of getting things through, which has been difficult in the past.
So Brazil has always had this situation where a president needs to form a coalition within Congress in order to govern, and because the politics of the country is very, very fragmented. Lula got elected already with a coalition. There are 10 political parties in his coalition, but it is true that he is going to face a more conservative Congress than even the one that's there now. And some of Bolsonaro's allies have been elected to the lower house as well as to the Senate. So he is going to have a much, much tougher time than he had in the 2 previous terms when he was president during the 2000s. That's for sure.
Monica, if we sort of move away from, if you like, the hard facts and give me your gut reaction, should we be worried about where Brazil is now going?
We should definitely be worried. It's a matter of really, should we have been more worried if Bolsonaro got reelected? Oh, yes, that would have been much, much worse. But should we still be worried? Yes, I would say we should, because the difficulties that the country is facing can't be exaggerated. There's just a lot to fix. There was a lot of destruction over the past 4 years, both on the institutional side as well as on the economic side. So the question really is, will Lula be able to pull it off? And that's out in the open.
Thank you. Monica's joining me from Washington. I'm grateful.